Speaking of those Baltimore Ravens, they're traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns here. You want to talk about the Brown side of things or keep talking about the Ravens offense?
All right, well, now that I apparently made a new point about the Ravens offense, I'm going to flip over to the defensive side. And, everybody in this three-game win streak they have and potential, race to the AFC North title is everyone's going to go, well, Lamar Jackson got healthy. Obviously, they got a lot better, right? Of course, the offense, you get your two-time MVP back. But big reason that they're playing better of late is that their defense has been a lot better. Since the Alohi-Gilman trade, that's when things started to improve for them. In their last 4 games, they're 10th in the league in run defense grade. They're 11th in coverage grade. Prior to that, they were 17th in coverage grade, and they had the 3rd worst run defense grade in the NFL heading into week 6. Why was that trade so important? You get Alohi Gilman back there at free safety playing alongside Malachi Starks. What about the third guy, Kyle Hamilton, their best defensive player? Well, just like we talked about with Nick Emanwari in Seattle, they have moved Hamilton up as essentially their third linebacker, big nickel, whatever you want to call him, strong safety, whatever you want to call him here. This is what you're getting out of Kyle Hamilton. Now, PFF grades relatively consistent when it comes to Hamilton for this stretch, but he's made the rest of his team better with this alignment. Trev, in the last 4 games, he's only played 6 snaps lined up as a free safety. He's basically their weak side linebacker at this point, and that's just how he's operating. He can also get off the edge and rush the passer. They're blitzing him in the A-gap, using him in stunts, different creative ways to get him involved, but he's really solidified the run defense especially. And again, these types of players like Hamilton, like Emanwari, like Derwin James, they're going to become more valuable as the years go on. I think, honestly, we need to emphasize this more even when it comes to draft evaluation of these guys that used to be considered strong safeties and had certain roles in the secondary. These are weak side linebackers nowadays. They're just more athletic and they're able to cover against smaller personnel more often. When you get in those sets, they're able to cover tight ends. It's not like, the old days when every linebacker you had was 240 pounds, but you're getting these bigger safeties that are athletic enough to play in these roles. Kyle Hamilton is the prototype. Obviously, there's not going to be a lot of Kyle Hamiltons in the world, but he is changing their defense. He's changed the alignment. And it's only funny because last year, the second half, when the Ravens surged on defense, he moved back to free safety and he was the anchor of the secondary and all the single high things he could do. This year, they needed a run stuffer. Hamilton has played that. He's basically a linebacker right now. He's changed the look of their whole defense.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Just from a draft philosophy perspective, you need to be a little bit more open-minded into, when I talk about these all the time, weight percentiles, right? So you get some of these linebackers that are, 228 pounds, and, their weight percentile for the NFL might be like 13th or something. But if they can defend the run, then I think they become very, very valuable. I think we get carried away with assuming that strong safeties who maybe played near the box in college can defend the run way that they need to in the NFL. That's when you get caught in a bad way. If you have somebody who is 225-ish, 220, 225, whatever it is, and they can't hold up against offensive linemen, or they can't fit the run the way that they need to. It takes a special player to be able to do that, but Kyle Hamilton, obviously one of those special players. Since Lamar Jackson has come back, really just looking over the last 2 weeks, I thought this was very interesting, Dalton. He has a 2.35 time to throw when targeting tight ends and a 92.6 passing grade when targeting tight ends. So very much so, this isn't like, hey, tight end's a security blanket here, right? We get to our first progression, maybe it's Zay Flowers, our second guy in the progression, maybe it's Rashad Bateman, and then, okay, if those guys aren't open, let's look for where the tight end is, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, whoever it is. These guys are the primary. They're looking, Lamar Jackson snapping the football, he's looking straight to the tight end. And so they are clearly, Todd Monken is their offensive coordinator. They have a tight end-centric passing game right now, and it is very, very efficient. It's not super explosive yet, but it's very efficient as Lamar is obviously, getting his feet wet coming back from injury, and he's getting in the groove of things. Now, on Cleveland side of things, 79.2 coverage grade against tight ends this season. That's one of the best marks in the NFL. So they're very good at defending tight ends this season too. So I think that this will be a little bit closer, a little bit more low scoring. I think that 7.5 line, it feels big. Ravens 21, Browns 14 is what I have it. So like that's right around where I've got it. But man, just looking at that 7.5 number, that feels a little high for me. I think that it could be even a little bit closer to that. But if there's not a ton of scoring, you get a couple of touchdowns for one team and a couple of field goals for the other, that could make all the difference in the world. So I'll go Ravens 21, Browns 14 here.
Yeah, I get it. This Browns defense, especially in Cleveland, is a problem, right? And when you talk about the way the linebackers especially play, Devin Bush and Carson Schlesinger, they're really good. They're a big reason they're covering tight ends so well. Ronnie Hickman with an interception last week. He's been good at safety. And then on the outside, like I mentioned earlier, Tyson Campbell with an 80 coverage grade so far with the Cleveland Browns. He's really fit into Jim Schwartz defense and that man-heavy scheme there. So I do think this could be a grind for the Ravens. I think at the end of the day, the Browns offense just struggles too much to put up points consistently, and the Ravens are going to find a couple of turnovers, and that'll be the difference in the game. I've got Baltimore 24-10. I just don't see the Browns scoring enough points here with Dylan Gabriel the way that he's struggling.